Well, hello and welcome to YPO Presents Ask the Experts. I am Melissa Palazzo-Hart, executive coach and authenticity expert. And today I'm joined by two amazing business leaders, Abdul, Aziz, and Danielle Snow, to discuss the creator economy and what it means for businesses, brands, entrepreneurs, and how these leaders are driving innovation in this space. Welcome, Inas and Danielle.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Inas, I know that you're the founder and CEO at DotSpace, an
Yes.
advertising agency with offices in Kuwait and Qatar. But would you mind sharing a little bit with our audience today about your background and experience?
Yeah, I started my career in publishing actually, and in 2010, I started working on my digital agency. It was the first digital agency in Kuwait. We started with a small team. Now we are having offices in Kuwait, Qatar, KSA, and we have team working from all over the world, especially after COVID. I have approximately 16 nationalities work in our company. I have different clients from telecom to banking and to small new businesses and applications. So today is going to be interesting to tell you more about our market and what things work and what things don't work.
I love it. We're so excited to hear about that. And Daniel, let's hear from you. You're the founder and CEO of the Snow Agency, a digital marketing agency in Miami. Can you share a little bit about your background with our audience today?
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of the Snow Agency and actually another media company called Rap TV. So I kind of split my time between the two right now. So Snow Agency, we are a full service agency working with specifically direct consumer brands, and we do all the different types of services that allow them to grow online. So specifically, our largest service, ad buying, creative content, influencer outreach, organic social management, etc. And then Rap TV is what I call the largest fan base for rap fans on the internet. So we have over 40 million followers on social media, and we create content for all things about rap news and the culture behind it and whatnot. I got started when I was in college creating large audiences on social media, specifically Twitter. This was 2012, and learned that that you can essentially make money online. And after growing my own following through niche-based audiences, I noticed that a lot of other people with these large followings at the time didn't know how to monetize their audience. So I created a self-serve advertising platform back in 2014 when I was still in college. I had a lot of traction. Then I got into apps, content websites, affiliate marketing, e-commerce. I had a portfolio of brands that I owned and eventually sold. So have seen a bunch of different things in the digital landscape.
Wow, amazing. I just love the different places that you both are coming from. It's going to be an exciting conversation today. And so, for those of you that don't know, YPO is a global leadership community of more than 30,000 chief executives in 142 countries. And it's driven by the shared belief that the world needs better leaders. Isn't that true? And YPO members employ over 22 million people. That is a lot of people. And our companies have a combined revenue of over $9 trillion. And one of the benefits of being a YPO member is the opportunity to connect with leaders like Enos and Daniel and have conversations like these. It's a place where we can engage in ideas and to really have lifelong learning around important business topics and create deeper relationships through our virtual and global reach. And before we get started, we'd like to remind all of you watching live that you can ask our guests questions by posting them in the comments section, and we'll answer them as time permits. So on with the show. Let's start with some high level context for our audience who may not be familiar with the term the creator economy. So, Inas, from your perspective, how would you define it, and what are some of the primary characteristics of the creator economy?
In a nutshell, the creator economy is a system made up of independent content creators who use digital platforms to build businesses or to make a community. And it shifts from having big media groups acting as the gatekeepers of content creation and consumption. And it decentralized the system. And content creators of time have expertise, or they have unique perspectives related to particular subjects, which they monetize through sometimes revenue sharing and subscriptions, brand endorsements, selling courses, coaching. And as you saw now, Daniel had this full experience before, and it lowered the barrier to the entry, and the high growth potential opens up for possibilities for average person to build large following and become financially successful in a relatively short period of time. So if on the other side of the equation is the content consumer who wants to be entertained and as much as they want to be informed. So they want unique perspectives, and they are averse to content that is overproduced and to that promotional way. So I think the two aspects to consider here is the revolution we experience in the way we receive and learn information, and the change in the way we purchase and build loyalty to brands and ideas. And if we speak of the characteristics, to go back to your question, there are two major elements: the availability of information and the ideas and products online, and the delivery of these services by individuals who are truly passionate about them. So
Mhm.
that's what I think about it.
Mhm. Thank you, Inas. Daniel, how would you describe the creator economy, and what are some of the primary characteristics from your POV?
Yeah, I don't have too much to add on the definition of the creator economy. You know, did a pretty good job of that. The characteristics of the creator economy are obviously the creators themselves, the softwares and tools that they're using to create content in order to interact with their advertisers. Obviously, the social media platforms, which are softwares themselves that they're creating content on, um, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, etc., as well as once again the tools and softwares that they're using also to create communities like OnlyFans, Patron. Um, Now even there's even ones that are being used for email marketing and not only video content but through email has been a big one, like Substack. So yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Um, that's a very clear definition. And these creators, they're often tapped by brands, right, to help sell their products and their services. But first, they need a community of followers, like you have built. It sounds like, Daniel. So, how, in your experience, can creators build this trust effectively? And maybe you can share some specific examples of powerful creator communities that you've come across and that you have grown to really respect.
Yeah, I think that trust is the single most important thing for when you're building the audience, because you can build an audience, but if you don't have the kind of emotional connection with your audience, then you're not actually influencing your audience, and therefore you're not going to have purchase. You're not going to give your audience purchase intent. When you may recommend something for them to buy or to take action on, it's not going to happen. You might see a lot of likes, views, etc., but the purchase intent doesn't happen. Therefore, you're simply not worth as much to advertisers. And I've definitely seen this a number of times from the advertiser perspective, and that is kind of from the advertiser perspective is kind of the art to it, trying to decipher who has that kind of connection to their audience. A lot of the times the trust-based factor, like you mentioned, is being authentic, and there are so many creators or influencers now that will take the easy check from any type of brand or advertiser that wants to get in front of their audience, and they become kind of the volume game versus the other type of creator or influencer who only truly recommends products. They are getting paid at the same time because that they have an interest to do so, but they'll only recommend the products and tools and whatever they're using that they actually believe in. And I think this also comes across even in the content themselves. You can typically really tell when someone is passionate about something that they're talking about. And then the second part is if you're going that volume game with which is what a lot of creators and influencers are doing, they're taking the easy check and easy money. Now, I mean, you see this now, especially you have liability in that sense. So if the brand isn't doing a good job of providing that customer experience, now you have that liability as a creator influencer. And if you're once again, if you're not doing your diligence on the advertisers paying you, you lose that trust. Recently, you look at most recently comes to top of mind the FTX scandal. That's by definition liability. The creators and influencers who are advertising, even the big ones, Tom Brady, etc., they're facing lawsuits in the case for recommending that. And you can this happens time and time again. So if you don't, it just comes back to being authentic with your audience and only advertising what you truly believe in, which is not always the easiest thing to do because you're going to be saying no and turning away money, which can be hard at times if you're making a career out of your content. So long-winded answer, but that answers it.
No, it's a great answer. I mean, authenticity and trust go hand in hand, don't they? Inas, who have you seen is doing a good job with this? Who have you seen that has a community that's built on trust and really has an authentic relationship to the brands that they're promoting?
Let me give you some things, because I think also what Daniel said is exactly what makes influencers really credible. And I think when you're genuine, yes, you get followers, and people now look at interesting things. They want interesting stories. So because we have a lot of content online, so we are like showered with a lot of content. So and many people, they need to be consistent, because it needs patience for you to have this credibility and to build this community. And I can give examples that I had with one of my clients, which is Virgin Mobile. Virgin Mobile came to Kuwait, and they were the fourth telecom provider in a market which is very saturated. They have big companies, telecom companies coming in their faces, and they had to start 1 year back. And all their experience is a digital experience, so that we had to work with local Kuwaiti talents such as DJs, tech bloggers, and artists to build brand advocates and a program to lead up to the following and the entrance to the Kuwaiti market. Virgin used their platform, but which had no followers. The Virgin Mobile Kuwait is like they had zero followers, and they made pop-up events with those influencers, which are very niche and very useful, because they are targeting that kind of people in Kuwait. And then the program was very successful. We had 20,000 followers prior to Virgin first selling the first subscription. And we made a comparison now after 1 year that it's the most engaging Virgin Mobile Instagram account in the MENA region because of what they affiliated with. So they worked with influencers which reflect the brand, that it's the hype, it's the youthy brand, it's the one that says things which are related to the audience, which is the new things, the happening things, the music, the art, and really it worked.
Also, Melissa, I didn't answer the second part, and I wanted to add a few things. I think that the biggest shift, especially now in creating communities, especially for creators, is being accessible and creating content that truly resonates with the audience. So it used to go from aspirational to now is just relatable. And I think that the people who are winning right now are that, that even shows in just the type of content production, right? Like right now, the type of content that works is just real, raw content, not super edited, not not like crazy cameras and whatnot.
Right.
And that goes from everything that they're talking about. So I think
Daniel, actually, we made one exercise with one of my team, and we had one restaurant. We had this one blogger posting one very nice picture. It was the best art direction, the best food direction, and they posted them on their Instagram. And we had another one which has the same level of audience, and she posted with her mobile the same burger, the same thing, and you see the level of engagement on that one was much, much, much bigger. So people, as you said, they are looking for something which is real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyways, as I was saying, so I think people who are doing a good job of that, to me, top of mind right now is, and I know, I don't even know if a lot of the audience will know who these people are, but to me, when I think of someone who's doing a great job with community and being authentic, is Nelk Boys. So they're just like kids that came up on YouTube and have evolved into media, into merch, into a ready to drink alcohol product, into NFTs, and everything that into podcasts. They've had Elon Musk on their podcast, Donald Trump, Kanye West, like everyone, Mike Tyson, everyone you can think of, and they kind of now represent that Gen Z audience. And when you think of how they've done it, it's just being what I said. It's being relatable, being authentic, and being true to themselves, and not taking on every dollar that comes to them. And that's why whenever they put something out, their audience is obsessed with it because they have that emotional connection to them. I'll also say, even when I think of who's done a good job of creating community, not to my own horn, but I think what we've done at Rap TV in a short time span of 5 years, where now we have, like I said, the largest, most engaged audience for a highly competitive audience, where now the barrier to entry, just in general, is lower than ever, which makes it harder to kind of stand out from the noise. And everyone always asks me, how we did it. I like to think that the number one most important thing is what I already said, only taking in that sponsorship dollars that you stand behind. So we've said no to so many different things, especially with the NFT craze. People were offering us crazy money for simple posts on Instagram and whatnot, and always put the audience first. So that's number one. Number two is being able to be reliable. And for us, day one was how do we get other notable people in the community to give us that that kind of social proof. So for us, obviously, we have Rap Band. How do we do that? How do we become that reliable source? We create content, shareable content for the most notable people in the space, which for us is rappers. So we create content for the rappers to then share to their audience. So now we're a reliable source of news for them. We're gaining their followers, who are obviously the most engaged fans for them. And it kind of has that mutually beneficial relationship. And the same can be said for anyone creating an audience online. I think that finding people who you have similar overlaps with and similar interests with, and cross-sharing, is right now the best way to grow engaged audience, engaged community, etc. And that's why you see, even for the most successful podcasts, they're bringing on a lot of other notable people. What do? They share it to their pages, and that's how it works for both parties. So,
Right.
top of mind is
That's great, Daniel. Some of the lessons that you are sharing are lessons for leadership as well. I just took some notes. So build trust and be authentic, as you both said. Don't be aspirational, be relatable, right? That's what we want in our leaders as well. And be real and be true
Yeah.
to you. Don't say yes to everything, right? Say yes to what really is calling to you. So just many lessons here in the creator economy as they are for our leaders within YPO. So I love that connection. Enos, you have a question here from someone that's watching. What services do you provide at your agency?
Oh, the services, actually we do all kinds of media booking, whether it is online or it is not online. But we have also influencers in our region. It's really so much picked up. You have a lot of influencers. And when you ask me about who give good content, I have many names in our region that really have millions, and they are really doing great job. As Daniel was saying, they are very real. I have one who's Lebanese. I love her. Her name is Noor Arida. I love her so much because she's talking about real beauty issues all the time, asking people to think about what the reality they are, the filters that we're using on Instagram or on, and how you can love yourself and love the way you look. I love many in our region are doing great. Our services vary from content creation to TV productions to social media productions, which are different. And I have a lot on my website to see how many productions we've done, and we are working with many big brands on content creation, building a community, and I'm so happy because that's why I gave the example of Virgin Mobile, because it was a brand that came to the region, and it's doing great in Kuwait because of the strategy we put together. And as we said, we went full influencers. It was one of our main targets, and we affiliates with the people, as he said, the reliable ones, the ones there are ones that they don't take money, they just want you to promote their work. There are some of them that they give you the content and they are not looking at how much they're going to take in return. They want to serve the community. So we have a lot of this in our region, and I'm happy for what Daniel is saying, and that some influencers, they failed in here because of putting anything, like, because they're giving me money, I can post it and
Yeah.
people can feel it. Really, people feel if you are real and if you are authentic, and they know it. So you cannot fool the people. It's
Right.
the people are now, they are aware and they know what is paid and what is not paid, and they can really differentiate between content.
Yeah.
And that's why it's harder now than before, if you can say, Daniel, because at the beginning the journey was easier. Now we have a lot of creators, so people are selective and they know what they want, and they will unfollow you when really they feel that you are not. And we can see Balenciaga and what happened to them, and we can know that one mistake on this on the digital can cost you a lot, because content creators have a voice, and they can really influence any brand, no matter how big it is.
Mm. Wow, that is so true and so powerful. I love that people can feel that no matter where they are, they can feel if people are being real and authentic. And so, given that the creator economy is highly decentralized, right? Creators may be using social media platforms or streaming services, newsletter platforms, subscription services. And we have a question here, which is, what is the best mix? Is it live activations, all digital? Can an influencer be offline? Daniel, what do you answer for that? Someone who's
I would
watching.
say number one, you have to define your goal. So it's impossible for me to answer that without that. Without that, um,
Right, right.
yeah, it's like such a general. So for me, I'll just we do growth direct response for brands, meaning that every dollar we spend, we expect there to be a measurable action.
Mhm.
AKA, we expect people hire us to generate revenue, hopefully profitably. So specifically for that, um, we don't do brand awareness. So every dollar we spend, we hope to have an action. And if we're spending something on brand awareness, it might be still with the intention of driving revenue in some other form of action. Specifically for this, creators, we typically don't use macro influencers. We use creators, specifically for the content they create that might represent the target audience that we want to go after. So for everyone who buys a product for a brand, typically there's multiple what we call target personas. And
Right.
what's the best way to get content that speaks to the different personas is getting content from these creators. So it's what we call scaling horizontally, and we kind of find either customers or creators that represent that.
Mhm.
For sure, you can do offline events, and all these other things, but once again, it just depends on on the target goal that you have. Um, and
Yeah.
when it comes to macro, I would say that's obviously you have to take a much bigger risk because the amount of money you're paying is considerably more. And why it's such a big risk also is that with the algorithms in place, it is a complete crapshoot on how much reach the post is going to get.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
not only that, but with how hard it is to work with some of these macro creators and celebrities and whatnot, it can be extremely difficult, and you might just not be able to get the type of content that will be successful because of how hard it is to work with them, and how limited they are in communication and openness. So it's much bigger risk. Obviously, the stakes are much higher, but you also, if you're doing it well, you also get the likeness from that, which can for sure get your brand to the next level and have huge implications on ads that everyone else sees and how they might be thinking of your brand.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So totally understand. You can't give a general answer. In general, do you feel like the budget should be spread across multiple influencers and multiple platforms in general?
Totally. I definitely don't think going all in on one person is a good idea. It's also why we start small and build our way up. So number one, the most important thing is identifying who is my target persona. And I see a lot of brands get this wrong. Therefore, when they could hire a notable person, and if that's not the target persona, then the content you're using in ads won't be effective. The post won't be effective in terms of driving revenue, and it becomes a waste. So truly having that intimate understanding of who's buying your product and who your customer is will set you up for success. A big way that we do that is through post-purchase surveys, as well as other kind of communication we have with our customer. I think post-purchase surveys are the easiest because you get so much data from it, and you can ask questions literally. Like we literally ask in our post-purchase surveys, who's your favorite reality show star? Who influences you most? What podcasts are you listening to? What books are you reading? So being able to get all that data in an automated way makes it so much easier when it's time to make these decisions. Because if you're identifying trends in these, obviously now you know who influences your customer persona and who can move that needle. So that's definitely the biggest lever that we've seen. And that's how we like to think about it, especially when we're taking a big risk with the macro influencer.
Great. Thank you.
Something. It's you see the different dynamics in the markets. If we send surveys in our region, nobody will answer them. People don't tend to write comments or reviews, or if you look at the TripAdvisor, you see very little content. People, they don't tend to write. They don't tend to answer surveys. So we had to work on our experience. And as I said, when we have a budget, we look at the budget first, because if I have a big budget, it will give me a space for me to think how I'm going to spend it. But if it's a startup and I have a limited budget, I have to go for micro influencers, as you said, and which are relevant to the brand. And I have to take into consideration the experience I had with those people before, and I worked with them, and if they've worked with such brand. But also I will there are things that you said they can work here, because as you said, the persona is very important. So I have to look at the target audience and to see. And here there's a little bit of thing that we can think about. Like if I have an Islamic bank, I have to think of the person that I have to have as an influencer, different from thinking with a telecom or with so I have many things to take into consideration when I'm splitting the budget. And I will talk about the platforms themselves if you're interested to see that. And YouTube is not really the good medium in our region. People tend not to watch it, and they don't like to see long videos. So we have to look at Instagram, which takes 90% of Snapchat here in Doha. Like if, for example, there's something interesting that you would know. If I'm doing a campaign in Saudi Arabia, in KSA, I have to focus more on Facebook and Instagram. In Qatar, it's Snapchat and TikTok. In Kuwait, it is Instagram and TikTok. So it differs. So where you have to look at your audience and where are they and what they are seeing. So you have to see in each country what's everybody is doing. And TikTok is very interesting, and it's picking up so much here. And the organic reach on that platform is incredible. And their algorithm is second to none when it comes to showing people content, and they're actually interested in what you consume more than what you follow. And to tell you the truth, we have one example which is very interesting. We have now in the World Cup, we have this mascot of the World Cup. It's called La'ib. It looks like a Casper, like it's wearing this white thing, that like the authentic way they wear here. And there is a boy who was in the game, and he looked like him. He moved his hand like this, and he looks like Laib. And one day he had 10 million followers from China, and he became the star of China. And the Chinese TV called him, and they wanted to make interviews with him. So TikTok is really picking up so much. It's really working with the youth. So in terms of diversifying, I'm not with spending with the macro influencers, but sometimes if I have a big budget, yes, I would go for it. In our region, it's easier than I think in there. We have macro influencers, and they are really credible. But as you said, it's a budget matter that I have to think about. And as you said, maybe it's sometimes I cannot use macro. I go for micro, and they work. So it depends on the brand and what we are going to promote.
Thank you, Inas. That's really helpful because there's a question about the cultural aspects in your region and the impacts on how you create content for the different areas in your region. Would you care to speak a little bit about that a little more?
Yes, we have lots of restrictions, and sometimes we have very good influencers that cannot work for some brands. And yes, there are many cultural barriers in terms of like if you associate the brand with something which is not culturally accepted, it may fire back on the brand, and it may really affect it dramatically. So it is very critical in terms of choosing the right people to be your advocates, because you associate the brands with the people they're talking. As we said, that it's genuine, it has to be real, the stories. And as an agency, when I go with an influencer, we send them a kind of what do we want them to talk about. So and in their way, of course, we just give bullet points for them that we want to highlight this and this and this, and we make sure sometimes not to mention these words, not to say this, because this is not acceptable. And like, because I'm Lebanese by origin, what is accepted in Lebanon is not accepted in the Gulf region, especially in terms of what they wear. People have to be more caring about nudity, how they show themselves, what kind of content they portray. It's really very important. So yes, it is. We have many restrictions in terms of budget splitting when we think about a campaign, especially in terms of content creators.
Great. Thank you. Now, let's talk money for a minute if we can. In a survey of over 2,000 creators, global influencer platform NeoReach found that over 30% of those creators are looking to monetize their Instagram account, followed by TikTok and YouTube. And so creators were also asked to rank what they care about most. And they said, in order of importance, it went like this: creating the best content I can, connecting with my audience, building a following, and then lastly, making money. So I'll pose the question to you both. Considering these results, are creators entrepreneurs?
I would say absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you're working for yourself, and by definition, to me, that is an entrepreneur. I think that people always used to say, the creator economy is next. We're going to see our first billionaire, and we have. You know, Mr. Beast is now worth multi-billions. I think his latest valuation was somewhere near the $10 billion range. As a single creator, you know, he is an enterprise, and we're seeing this more and more now. And the individual creators are building teams around them. You know, once you have influence over your audience, true influence, there's so much you can be doing with that. You can create actual brands with products, physical products, or even digital, right? We see the subscription platforms where people subscribe to them simply for their content, like Patreon. Now all the other social platforms have adopted the same thing. You can have paid memberships on Twitter now, YouTube, Instagram. So absolutely, it to me, by definition, is a business, and you are solely responsible for monetizing that. So you could slap any other name on it, and not only that, I think that where we're going on the internet, the future is the creator economy, and the reasons for that is because we already see it now. The battle over the eyeballs from the social media platform standpoint is real and tangible. And you even see that from the last like Facebook earnings result, right? TikTok's presence is now taking away attention from Meta. And the less impressions they have, the less people are using it, the less ads are served, and it impacts revenue. How do they get people to stick to their app? Is creators. It's not the macro influencers, and that's done through niche-based audiences. So I think that there's going to be more opportunities than ever for creators to make money through their content. And we're already seeing that. Like I said, it's already started with all the multi-billion-dollar funds that these platforms have given for creators in order to incentivize them to create content for their platform. And I think that there's going to be increasingly more ways to monetize, make money, um, and create careers out of that. So I think that creators are absolutely entrepreneurs, and if they're not going into it with that mindset, I think that they're doing themselves a disjustice. And I see that all the time, where it's like these creators have these massive followings and aren't making the right moves that they can be in terms of making money and making a business out of it as they could, because they're only solely focused on their content. So I think the ones that are really winning it are thinking about it with that in mind, like a Mr. Beast, and still, once again, staying authentic. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. Enos, do you see these
Yeah.
leaders as entrepreneurs?
You describe when you see the survey, it really describes the natural sequence of success in creators' economy. I think the most successful creators started with the mindset of sharing their passion, and and then it won't be able to and they had to establish credibility and grow an audience. And if they didn't have this, and then the money comes after, and they have a huge entrepreneurial element in this. Creators are creating their own value proposition, generating revenue and managing operational costs. Many creators have a team around them and have to think like a company would. And we have countless examples of creators having established long-term business successes. We have here in the region one of known Noha Nabil, one of our influencers in Kuwait. She has the biggest number of Hermes bags in the world. So Hermes took her as one of the main influencers, and she like her bags, how she got, and she was just an influencer. She was one of the first influencers in Kuwait. They made a lot of money. Now she has her own brand of makeup. We have a lot of entrepreneurial aspect in the creator's business. And yes, it becomes it all starts with the passion, and then it goes to business, and many of them are doing it in a great way. And they are like now they come to, if you look now at the World Cup, you see how many influencers came and they were paid to come and to cover everything happening from all over the world. And we cannot deny that those people are making money, and they are making advantage of the momentum and of what they're doing. But as I said, they are all the time under the risk of people losing interest. So they have all the time to work so hard. So this is the thing of getting the attention all the time, and to stay. That's why you see them doing brands, making their own kind of things, because they are thinking of what they are liking and how can take it into a business model. So yes, because they are entrepreneurs by evidence.
Yes, of course. I love that. Hey, personal question for you both that I can't help but not ask. You talk about the creators following their passion and the best ones that are doing that and being true to themselves and be authentic and real. What part has that played, if any, in your trajectory, in your
Well,
career, in building your businesses?
the sound went a little.
Yeah.
You said
Yep.
the part where you're asking the question, I can hear.
Okay, let's go again. It was a brilliant question, so let me make sure that I said it clear. I said I can't help but ask you both a personal question as we talk about the creator economy. Those that seem to be doing really well have been true to themselves, have followed their passions, are real and authentic. What, if any of these, have been important in your trajectories in building your own businesses?
I would say for me, I'll just break it. I'll discuss specifically type of business that I run. Rap TV. So I think for us, I'll say this. I'll start with the business is now almost 6 years old. No one in our business has actually quit since working for us, and the reason why is because we have the most passionate people who are creating content and leveraging our platform as their creative outlet. And I think that that's solely the reason why we're winning, and why we're continuing to grow. We're creating content nonstop. We're creating hundreds of pieces of content a day, is because we have people on the team who just love what they're doing. And when you have people on the team that love what they do, especially from an employee standpoint, right? Because obviously, as the owner and founder, you're most likely going to be passionate about what you do. You're most likely going to be already the one working the long hours, right? But it's hard to get that type of mentality on your team. So, point being is that I would say the sole reason why we've been able to break through the noise and have this audience is because we have team members who just love what they do. We have team members who don't count the hours they work. They work weekends because they're doing what they love. It's truly not a job to them. So, and I think that's really hard to accomplish when you're creating a business. So, absolutely, from a team standpoint, and same for me as a founder, it's fun, it's exciting, we're in culture within that company. And on the agency side, um, it is for as another agency owner, how volatile it can be as an agency owner, and if you're only in it for the money, it's going to be really hard to take the ups and downs. So you truly need to love what you do. You truly need to enjoy making an impact on the clients that you're working with, and have that kind of results oriented mentality. And yeah, so I think that if for me at least, if I'm not passionate what I do, then you're not willing to make the sacrifices and go through the lows that require for you to have success over time. So those are two little anecdotes on how I see it.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. Inas?
Daniel is saying the things because he lived it. In agencies, we sometimes don't sleep. Now, like for the last week, because the end of the World Cup was the day of the National Day of Qatar. Every single client, they want videos about National Day, about thanking Qatar, about doing it. I had my team sleeping in the office. We have all this. If we don't have the passion and we love what we do, and all my creative team, they did great jobs. We work in a business that needs a lot of creativity, a lot of thinking, a lot of innovation, and if you lose that, you will lose your business. It's the same as content creators, because really we do content, so all the time we have to think of the trends, what's happening. We have to change our mindsets, and the hardest thing is sometimes we have to talk banking, and after 5 minutes we have to talk to FMCG, and then you have to move to telecom, and all of those are different things and different kinds of businesses, and we have to have all the diversity. So yes, it's about being up to date, being all the time looking at the best for your clients, the best that you can really deliver. And this is not an easy task, and it is because we work in content. So as you see, the platforms are changing, the algorithms are changing. So today, what we know today, tomorrow it's a different thing. So the updates that we have to be really working day and night to be the agency, because as you said, not a Me Too thing.
Love it. Thank you so much. It sounds like you're both in the zone doing what you love, which has added to the amazing businesses that you have. When is a creator ready to monetize? This is a question from the folks that are watching. Do they need a certain number of followers, a certain number of accounts? What do you think, Daniel?
I don't think that there is, especially with kind of the creator economy. To me, represents niche-based communities, and I think that that's even the direction where the social media platforms are going with the kind of algorithms in place. TikTok, for example, I'm just giving a little example. The reason why it's so successful is because they're able to find exactly the type of content that you like, exactly the type of interest that you're interested in, and exactly the type of people that are making that. So if you're creating content for these niche based audiences, then your content and your audience is significantly more valuable, because you could have an audience of 100 people, but if you have a relationship with all 100 people, there's, especially if it's a high value item, especially, that could be worth that could be worth it for the advertisers. So I think that if you have that niche based content, then there's no actual minimum. Um, to an extent, I mean, typically I've heard people throw around the number 1,000, like once you have 1,000 newsletter subscribers, 1,000 whatever, then that's roughly when you want to start monetizing that audience. I've seen people monetize their audience starting day one, because especially when they're shifting platforms, like people who have a large audience on Twitter or Instagram, once they start a newsletter or podcast, they already have those advertisers in place, because those are advertisers they already use and recommend in their day to day, and they know that it would be valuable to that audience. So that's kind of how I see it. And once again, if you are creating content, or people are thinking about becoming creators, you need for me, in order to win, you should be creating it with a niche in mind. I think people who are doing it all types of things are going to have a hard time succeeding, because their audience will be all over the place, and number two, it's going to be really hard for the platforms to recommend them. So yeah.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. I'm just going to ask us to mute if we're not speaking, because there is a bit of an echo. Enos, for you, do you have a different opinion? When is a creator ready to monetize? Do they need a certain number of followers or a certain number of accounts?
I think Daniel answered that. No, there's no number. You have to see. As you said, we look into many things. It's not only the insights or how many followers, or you look at the engagement rates. So
Mm,
yes, we have to see, like, in terms of comments, likes, engagements, how much people are subscribing. All of those are factors that we look into. And sometimes, as we said, micro influencers work. Sometimes people who have 1,500 followers, they can really have real followers that you really need. So it is about we sometimes use those. So there's no number that I say, if you have 10,000, then you are an influencer. If you have 5,000, you are. No, it's not like that. So it tends to see, it is case by case, and there's no specific answer that I can say as an expert. No, this if you have 2,000 followers, this means that you cannot monitor. No, it's not true.
great.
So
So there's hope for me.
yes.
I'm, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Let's look into the future a bit, shall we? Let's pretend it's 2033, 10 years from now. Will social media platforms still be as valuable as they are today? Will the creators be paid more or less? And as a new generation comes in line, what will they be looking for? Can you share a few predictions with our audience, Inas?
Yes, okay. The social media has a lot of rapid changes and disruption built into its DNA. So, trying to predict 10 years into the future is very interesting. 10 years ago, many of the predictions around social media, they said that Facebook is for everyone. We are going to see niche platforms catering to different people and interest, and that didn't really pan out. Instead, we saw apps attempts to be niche platforms and balloon into everything platforms. Instagram started as photography app, TikTok started as an education, and then it's all changed. Social media platforms are becoming platforms of music, discovery, e-commerce, messaging, dating, video calling, gaming, education, and we expect this to continue, I think. And social media also depends on how technology evolves, and I think the metaverse is something we're looking into. Artificial intelligence, the internet of things, connectivity, or business regulations. So will the opportunity landscape of creators to reach and engage audience is going to be like so unpredictable. So a
Yeah.
direction that has already taken a shape that I expect to continue into the future is the interest based on content curation. In contrast, let me say in 10 years, I feel that things like Gen Z, socially aware of a lot of global issues. They are more into the environment. Maybe they would look into platforms which look into all these things. So I read an interesting thing by Dell Technology that they say Gen Zs are passionate about environment causes and want to make a positive impact in the world. So they want to make impact. So maybe they will look for social media platforms that are, I don't know, eco-friendly. I don't know, that works on metaverse, that really how they use energy. All of those things may change the way people would think. So no one can really predict what 10 years would look like. But like Meta is talking about metaverse, but how this will go and how this will become, it's something that is unpredictable.
Sure, sure. Thank you for sharing your look into that crystal ball. How about you, Daniel? What do you predict for the future of the creator economy?
I would say 10 years from now, I would say we're going to see some consolidation. I would be surprised if the same social platforms today are kind of have the same um, share in terms of audience as it is right now. I would see we're going to have that kind of clear cut winner and loser in the next decade. So I definitely think there's going to be some consolidation in that aspect. Um, I would also say that when we look back 5 years to now and then 10 years, I think that the value of the creators are going to be significantly more. And I think we've once again, when we look back 5 years, just creators were you could get them for literally nothing. Now
Mm,
I see creators with 5,000 followers wanting a few $1,000s for post at times.
mm,
So I think that we're going to continue to see that trend. We're going to continue to see creators make huge impacts on media culture, and they're going to have some of the largest brands that we use today or in the future. And as I said, I think that the niche-based communities are starting to emerge, and I think that's going to continue to be a really large trend in the future. And I think that there's going to be shifts away from the kind of media companies that have existed or that we know and have existed over the last few decades. And I think that that kind of attention will be starting to given to some of these micro influencers and creators and whatnot. And we're already seeing that right now. I'm seeing right now the large media companies on our average are laying off 30 to 50% of their staff. BuzzFeed is down 95%. So I think that we're going to continue, and that's because I think that it's that decentralized. Inaz defined it earlier on. It's the decentralized media. So I think we're going to continue to see that. So yeah.
mm. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you, Inaz and Daniel, for sharing your expertise with our audience today on the creator economy. Before we go, I'd like to ask you one last question. As a member of YPO, what benefits have you or your family enjoyed by belonging to this community? And what do you think founders, entrepreneurs, business leaders can gain by belonging to this type of organization? Inez, would you share your thoughts?
Yeah, of course, because when it comes to YPO, I'm so passionate because I love YPO. It's one of the best things that I've done in my life when I joined them. The networking, the education, the learning curve, sharing those things with people who are of different sectors, of the same, of different regions. And I can say that the forum experience is one of the best things that happened to me. My forum buddies are my extended family. I
Mm,
have attended the international events, regional events, and I can tell you that this really changed a lot of my perspectives in life and the way I work and the way I lead my company, the way I work with my team. The forum fundamentals, you can really use them in your daily life.
right.
And for my son, I think it was the best thing when you have the YNGs and you see how many things they had and how many workshops and seminars and lectures they have attended, especially during COVID and what we've done during COVID. I can tell you
Mm,
that the best thing that happened to me is to be a member of this community.
thank you so much for sharing that. Daniel, how about you? What's been your experience with YPO?
I would say similar things. I would say number one, the learning
Yeah.
from experience shares through the YPO community to me is has been absolutely incredible through my chapter and also through the kind of international organization that you're a part of. I think that part is incredible. I was traveling through Europe this summer for 6 weeks just on a solo trip, and every city I was at met some of the most incredible, open, kind people solely due to being involved in YPO and having that relationship, and wanting to reciprocate that for others, because everyone, just like Inaz, seems to have such an incredible experience in it. So for me, it's just the best kind of network to be involved in that I know of, bar none. And the type and the type of interesting things everyone is doing from business and personal has had a huge impact on me since I've been a part of it. Um, Forum is definitely incredible. I think it's hard to find anything else like it out there, where you find this small group of people who you truly, at least for me, if you get lucky enough, and it seems like Inaz as well, to respect, and value their opinions and their perspectives, and how that makes a huge impact on your business and personal. So because both have a huge impact on each other. So I think that it's been a huge value add to my life. I'm incredibly grateful to be a part of it. And even doing stuff like this, I get excited. I want to give back. I want to reciprocate all the value that I've gotten to the rest of the community and whatnot. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
also,
much.
you have to see, Melissa, how many people came to Qatar, how many YPOers were in Qatar during the World Cup. I met a lot. I have friends all over the world, and all of them were here. We networked, we have networking events, and it was great to see that number of YPOers here in Doha. It was a great opportunity.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'll just add that sometimes it's lonely at the top, right? Running a business. And there are very few people that can understand the opportunities, the excitement, the challenges, all of that we go through as leaders. So to have that network of people globally looking in the same direction to be the best leaders and frankly, people we can be, it's a very powerful place to be, YPO. So thank you both so much for being with us today. And thank you to all who tuned in to be a part of this conversation. We really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. And if you have, let us know. Share it with your friends, your followers, if you're an influencer and connections. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube so you can be one of the first people to learn about our next episode. I'm Melissa Palazzo-Hart, and this was YPO Presents Ask the Experts. Thank you so much for watching.